What's up, everybody? Thanks again for joining me. And yeah, we're gonna like just take off with this one. We got a little bit we gotta talk about. We gotta talk about the results of the Pro Quest, and then there was also the calling. Just gonna kind of go over some stuff. What we predicted that was right, what we predicted that was wrong, and kind of see if that tells us anything going forward. Maybe some of you have a couple more pro quests you plan on going to. As for me, I just attended one this past weekend. We came a little short. We got top four. It was draft, so you know we did what we could, and yeah. So the plan is, like I said, we're gonna go over just who won a lot, who didn't win a lot, who we thought would win a lot, and go from there. And then for the main topic of the stream, what I wanted to do was go over all of the deck list that were on the fabtcg website, specifically referring to Aurora, and basically say, okay, this is some tech that this person had. Do we like it? Do we not like it? Do we think it's good? Why is it good? And kind of like dig deep into cards and choices that people made that are not so common, right? And then we're gonna go into like how kind of my list is kind of evolving and stuff like that. So, or where my thought is going with Aurora, because it has changed a lot. It has changed a lot over the past week or two on how you should kind of take that direction. Some things worked, some things did not work, and so on. So let's go ahead and hop over to the. Oh, we are going to have to fix that real quick. Window capture on the fly. ProQuest. Boom. If it was Man Santa, he would have done it in like half the time. But we got there. We got there on the fly. Okay, we're doing our best. We're doing our best. It's gonna be a it's tradition to rub Taylor's head before every event. I mean, we could definitely do that. We could do that. What's Aurora's bad matchup? And what are the trade-offs between playing her versus Viscera besides the Warmonger's weakness? Um, I think that depending on the type of Aurora player and the deck choices that they make, I think Aurora is a lot more exploitable. You can observe play patterns that an Aurora player is making on whether they're like just leaving all the gas out of the tank and not holding anything back and not valuing setup. And you can kind of take advantage of that with certain heroes, thinking like Florian, things like that. And kind of really pick on somebody that doesn't understand how to properly set up or when to make those pushes and when not to, instead of just throwing everything every single turn. So I would say that's the main thing. Is I think the Aurora player, not necessarily the hero, but the player is a lot more exploitable because the deck is very one-dimensional, and you are either holding back or pushing the gas, right? And depending on what you're doing, gives the other person a lot of information on what you should or should not be doing. So let's go ahead and talk about these results, okay? In the last stream that we did, we said Aurora was going to be the most represented deck. That seems to have held true. And she won the most, right? And our second thing that was said on stream was that Enigma's representation would be a lot lower. I really wish they would throw the data out as far as like who brought like representation in everything. They used to provide that data where they would say, you know, X% of the top eights were this hero and stuff like that. They used to give all that, but now it's just wins. And wins doesn't tell the whole story, right? Anybody could get unlucky or lucky or whatever the case may be, and it could result in a win, right? And whereas I think top eight conversion percentages is where the true story is told, but we just simply don't have that data. So ever since Lexi was running around, they stopped giving us that data. Not entirely sure why, but at my 31 person PQ Sunday, we had literally zero Enigma. Um, and that's what I meant by like lower representation, but I said she was going to convert hella good, and that's exactly what happened. I once again, I wish we had the data on like how many there were, but I knew, and that's just what always happens with illusionists, right? Is like you just put a really skilled pilot behind Enigma, and it's just a check for everybody in the building, right? It's like, can you beat this, right? And then probably 60 to 70% of the player base at the local level have a really tough time getting over that one single hurdle. And I think that's why she does so well during these RTNs. Illusionist in general does really well in these, but obviously Prism's kind of slacking behind because she's just the worst illusionist currently. So we kind of expected Enigma to be up there. That was, you know, we expected that. So the first two things we were like 100% on, hit the nail on the head, right? We had very good accuracy. But then I made the statement that Earth and KO would follow. Not necessarily in wins, but representation. And once again, I really, really wish we had the data. I mean, we just don't have any of it. Because I truly believe that the Earth Heroes in KO had a lot of representation. I firmly stand by that statement. But they just did not do well. Obviously, Florian is going to have a lot of trouble due to Enigma, right? Florian, in most cases, at an average skill level, is going to be very favored into Aurora. And also very favored into Azalea, and probably even favored into Nu. So Florian is actually pretty good into most of this makeup, which is why he had the better representation over, say, Verdance. But we also did say that Verdance would have like Earth would. We didn't know which Earth here was going to dominate. Now we kind of have our answer on which one is going to kind of take the helm, and that's going to be Florian. So it's Runeblade week. Everybody except Vinny. Vinny got a win, but you know that I think that's not a representation of power level. It's just there's not a whole lot of really good Vinny pilots yet. I'm sure that'll change over time because she just got what I would say is like her, you know, she became viable. We'll put it that way. Azalea and Aurora were the most represented at RPQ and Vis. Yeah, and Vis, Vis is another one. This is about what I expected out of him. I knew he would, you know, especially because Brody posted his list. I think that's the only reason that he's up here. If he did not, then it's probably a lot lower. And then Nu's actually the most interesting. I think everybody knew that Azalea wasn't really going to go anywhere. She still does that fundamentally strong thing. Depending on how the Aurora deck is built, if it's very non-attack based and not instant based, this matchup is actually very good for Azalea. And you're not bad into Enigma, right? As long as you have the appropriate amount of Murkmires and stuff like that. Unless Enigma's on CYB and then it just slaughters Azalea. But yeah, what can you do? But Nu's actually, I think, the most interesting aspect of this entire chart is how Nu kind of just fits in that slot specifically. I understand how it's doing well into maybe Aurora, although at the highest level, I don't believe that that's Nu favored. I think it's 50-50 at best for Nu. And you're a dog into Enigma, like an absolute dog. And then of course, you're going to beat up on Azalea and probably pick apart Viscerai because you can just take his non-attack and or a key piece of his hand. Viscerai is still one of those heroes, even in his current iteration, where there are very, very important cards that are pivotal to the turn, right? So all of this kind of makes sense. I really wonder if KO and the Earth heroes can kind of step it up a little bit. I'm not sure that they're allowed to with Enigma running rampant, but I'm interested in how, because this is quite the puzzle, right? Because Enigma in Aurora is literally almost half of the wins, right? Based on this chart. New was our most popular, had around 10 news, so like 33% of the field. I wonder how much of that is like that's just the deck that they built. Did they switch to new? Was it a meta play, or is that just like who they played? A lot less Enigma showed up than I expected. I might go back to new because of it, at least at my local PQs. Your tips to run Sigil of Solace and the extra electromagnetic you have me last week were clutch in beating 2 new. I'm glad it worked out for you. I'm absolutely happy that it worked out for you. So yeah, it's very interesting because Aurora and Enigma both make up half the wins, right? And the way that you attack these two it's like you can only attack one. I don't think there's any deck in the format that I can think of that attacks both these heroes. Especially if you consider the CYB version of Enigma, right? I mean, Viscerai can do it, but like Aurora can run Warmongers to leverage the advantage there. I mean, new, you lose to Enigma, Azalea. Depending on whether CYB exists, you could be an underdog there. And then Florian, you beat Aurora, but you lose to Enigma. You could probably beat not as skilled Enigmas fairly easily. And Zen, you don't really get the rune chant value off of the chess piece against Aurora, right? That's more of like a Viscerai counter, if anything. So none of these decks really can. It's like, which one do you want to beat? And the worst part about this is they're winning about the same. So it's just a local meta call. It's like, what's in your local area and how do you want to target that? So it's pretty interesting. So what I'm gonna do now is, after we've talked about that, we're going to go into the deck list of all the Aurora decks on the fabtcg website, and an extra one, I think Yuki's that she posted. We're also going to go over that because it's just one that I saw, and we're just going to look through the tech, see what's different, and ask ourselves why it's there, and kind of analyze and go from there, and then say which direction should we be heading looking at this if we're playing Aurora, is kind of the answer that I wanted to help provide. So this is Yuki's public list. It's on her Twitter if you're interested in finding it. I'm not going to provide links or anything like that. Go to her Twitter page, and she literally posted this, I want to say like 5 days ago or something like that. And then, of course, she also has like a write-up and sideboard guide on her Patreon. So as far as the equipment here, this is standard. Obviously, she's going toward Face Purgatory, so as we go down the list, we're probably expecting things like Sizzle, a couple more non-attacks than usual because we have to actually execute this instead of the Crown of Providence, okay? So seeing this automatically tells me there are more or less instant cards than maybe another list, right? That's kind of how I'm reading this. I haven't really looked at this list yet. So there's the Sizzles, which is pretty traditional. So all of this looks pretty normal. Basically, she's on I think the traditional count of blues. I'm just using that term loosely. That most of the lists that I've seen have been on 9 blues. She's pumped that number up to 12. Okay. And basically, everybody historically lately has been on Current Funnel and Blink. And then there was that flex spot where you basically had Electrify, Heaven's Claw, or Sigil. And Sigil of Lightning, to be exact. And we're definitely going to do some gameplay as well, probably. I don't know how much. I'm really tired, but we'll try to get a game or two. So, because there is one thing that I kind of want to test out. It's later in the list. So basically, she chose both. right? She went up to 12 blues, which I'm not agreeing with or disagreeing with. I'm just, stating how it is. Although the most interesting card in this main 60 is actually Sigil of Solace. Now, don't hate me in the comments if I'm wrong, but the first place that I saw this tech was Sam Dando's video, his deck tech. I think it was on DM Armada's channel, if I'm not mistaken. That was the first place that I saw Sigil of Solace, and that's where I got the idea from on playing this in Aurora. And I was kind of asking myself, when I saw it, I was like, that's kind of weird. Why would you run Sigil in a hyper aggressive deck? And the answer is the power of Sigil is how flexible it is. And there's a lot of tricks that you can actually do with that card in this deck. And I'm not even going to consider Lightning Greaves. That's like obvious. But there's so many lines, right? Where you like play a snatch, but you have a Sigil in hand, right? And it's like, oh, maybe you persuade them to let it hit because you already have a card in hand, right? And maybe you have 3 lightning presses already in the graveyard or something like that. You can just blow them out by playing the Sigil and then drawing the card, right? You can do what is literally a 2-card 11. 2-card 11 that does not have to hit. You play Gone in a Flash, that's 1 card. Sigil in the resolution step bounces Gone in a Flash back to your hand. You've acquired 7 value and returned Gone in a Flash to your hand on 2 cards. So it's basically an endless arrow that does not have to hit that bounces endless arrow back to your hand. It's that good, right? So it's another combination. You, of course, can give Flittering Charge go again. There's just so many aspects that this little innocent card can kind of just put together, right? And also, let's not discount the value of anytime you're holding a card, this is the card people think about. So when you're playing when you have your CLV out and you play your Arcanic Shockwave with Go Again or whatever, and you're like, okay, I need to stop the damage, but he has a card in hand, you give your opponent more opportunities to make a mistake, which, especially at the ProQuest level, is a very profitable play. Very high EV. So out of all of this that we've seen so far, the blues, I don't think it's, it's not the most exciting thing, but I understand why it's there. Sizzles are pretty standard at this point. I think everybody's on 3 somersault by now. And then Sigil's kind of baiting people. And also, this is good like insurance against CNC. You put it in Arsenal, you get to dodge on hit effects. I mean, it really does a lot in this deck, more than it leads on. So let's talk about this. CNC, obviously, there's a couple decks that don't like this on hit, shoring up the Azalea matchup a little bit. You have Sigil. Everybody, I think it has at least 3D reacts in the sideboard. That's very standard for Aurora. Not anything spicy. Same for Flicker Wisp. I think everybody is on the Flicker Wisp package as far as, obviously Arc Lightning and Flicker Wisp. And I've seen a lot of decks having Poison the Well because it is very important if you run into a CYB Enigma that you have an out to, you do run out of gas. Like it does happen. And this is a great way to be like, look, I bricked a turn and you like got a lot of free life. This is a way to catch up. And like you play this on like their last or second to last CYB and you get an extreme amount of value, right? But this is something that I really wanted to talk about and break down is the Aether Ironweave Crown of Dominion package, right? I want to, and I have not done the math or analyzed any further. I wanted to wait till I was on stream to kind of break down and ask or answer the question on why is this here? What are we actively extracting from a value proposition by adding these 2 cards? And so we're going to walk through what it the lines that it allows us to do. I'm really clueless on Aether Ironweave inclusion crown dominion. Good, well, good. We're about to go over that. We're literally about to go over that. We're about to break it all down. Okay, so the package would be you would have lightning greaves. Okay, me personally, if I was running this package, I would probably be on Snapdragons. Probably. But I guess it also depends on what your attack ratio is. Oh, she's on 30 attacks. So that makes perfect sense on why it's lightning greaves instead of snaps. If you start getting to 33, 35 territory, I think snaps is better inclusion, me personally. And so let's break it down. Everybody knows they're trying to arc lightning, flicker wisp, right? And then Aether Ironweave, which has go again after you've played an attack, of course, which is going to do a ping, which is pumped by 1. So when you pop this, you ping for 2 arcane, right? You gain 2 resources. Then you're going to activate the gold token on Crown of Dominion, which has go again on the gold token. And you're going to use these 2 resources gained from Ironweave to activate the gold token that you create, which is right here, which has the keyword go again, and you draw a card. Okay, so far, our investment is 2 pieces of equipment. All right, that's our investment in this combo because everybody's already running this. There's no opportunity cost associated with just running these 2 cards. We're just trying to understand the value proposition between adding these 2 cards to determine whether it's worth sideboard space. So we're popping Ironweave, gaining 2 resources, dealing 2 damage. We're activating gold, and then that's going to allow us to draw a card and ping 2 more damage. And we get to block for 1 on the Ironweave. So far, we've dealt 4 arcane damage, and we've blocked 1 damage, and we've drawn a card. Okay? So we're at 5 value plus a card. Okay? Now, I know you're like, oh man, that's like the best thing ever, right? But let's pump the brakes a little bit, right? Because we're just at the Carapace and Purgatory value, right? Because just on block value, if this face Purgatory had no effect, you're at 5 value, right? 2, and then block 2, and then block 1. So you're at 5 value there, just off of blocking. So we're at 4 arcane and 1 block worth of value, but we get the extra card, which is important. Now, what can we do with that extra card? On average, we can make the assumption that the lowest hanging fruit play is you're going to either draw a 4 power attack, which would give it 4 value, or if you draw any red card, you can swing Starfall for 2 damage, and then it would resolve the go again and ping for 2 more. So therefore, you get 2. You still get 4 value. You're getting 2 from the weapon. Then you've created your Rosetta Thorn at home, right? Is the situation that you have created. But if you rip a blue, then you get to Grasp, which is going to create 2. And then you're going to get the 1 rune chant from the go again. And then you're going to also swing Sword. So the Grasp situation on the blue would be you would get the 1, then the go again from here, and the go again from here. So it'd be 4, 5, 6, 7 on the blue, plus the 5 from earlier. Okay. So that whole line that we just broke down is at its base, you're getting just the raw block value. Now, keep in mind, this is only if you execute the combo. If the game ends and you're not able to execute this combo, this combination is obviously just really bad, right? Because I guess you can block with this, turn it into a swing. I guess the worst case scenario, you can always, instead of making an embodiment, you can draw a card, which isn't the worst. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. And then you could turn this into like a sword swing, right? So you still get 3 value here, and you can get a card's worth of value here. So the base of this combo is technically 5 if you don't execute the combo. The worst with the combo is an extracted value of you getting 4 plus the 5, 9. So you get 9 value from your chest and your head slot, which compared to Face Purgatory, you would have to basically get full value from Face Purgatory to match that, right? I would say that running Dyadic and Face Purgatory, if you resolve Face Purgatory's effect, can get a combination value of approximately 9 value, maybe 10. Maybe 10. But if you push it to its max and you either draw a blue or the blue that is currently in your hand gets converted to something else and you draw a red card, then actually you can't look at it that way. Because if you already have the blue, you're making that no matter what you draw here, which doesn't change the math. So no matter how you look at it, yeah, you can't look at it that way. I was trying to make the justification of if you had a blue in your hand and you drew a red, that's another red you could play and do something else with your blue, but you were doing the same line with your blue anyway. So you can't look at the math in that way. So no matter how you cut it, this Aether Ironweave, I'm going to say it one more time just to clear things up because I've been bouncing around a little bit. You're getting 2 arcane damage from the Go Again on Ironweave, plus the 1 block. That's a value of 3. Then you're getting Go Again off the gold. That's a value of 2 because you're sending 2 arcane. That's a value of 5 on top of the 3, right? 2 on top of the 3 is 5. Then you're drawing the card. And the card, no matter how you cut it, unless the attack has Go Again, which let's face it, can it gain Go Again? Sure. But like, is it getting Go Again? The question is, does it have Go Again while also you not giving up Go Again somewhere else to give it Go Again? Does that make sense? So if you draw just a red card that deals 4 damage, right? That brings you to a value of 9. But if you high roll a little bit and you grip an attack that has Go Again, we'll say Entwine Lightning is like a good plug and play, then you get an extra 2 value from it. So that takes it to 11. Okay. So this card combination value is its peak is 11 from Ironweave and Crown and Dominion. And its base is 5. Okay. Face Purgatory and Dyadic. Check this out, chat. It's actually almost the exact same math. Okay. But that's, once again, that's assuming, that's taking in a couple of assumptions, right? It's taking in the fact that, there's the unknown variable aspect to what you draw, what you have to give up. Does it dilute your turn because you have to block with cards you didn't want to block with? But then you just make them discard and draw a card, right? So I think it ultimately comes down to, are you running this package that is of equivalent value, almost exactly to a T, just as a package to run against decks where you don't get a lot of value from Face Purgatory? Why is everybody saying, man, I love Bolton? What's happening? What is it? So it's actually pretty interesting. So I think you just run this on any matchup where this is not a viable strategy. But then at that point, you're on 15 non-attacks. What are the non-attacks? That's one. There's been a bug, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a bug, chat, in February. I think that it is double counting the meld card as a non-attack. So hear me out, chat. I'm going to count the non-attack actions. We have 3 right here. Instant, instant, attack, 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 non-attack. 3 plus 3 is 6. Instant, attack, non-attack. 6 plus 3 is 9. Instant, attack, non-attack. 9 plus 3 is 12. Attack. There's 12 non-attacks. And you go here and there's 15. And I know that this only includes the main board, because if you include the sideboard, here it goes up to 18. So yeah, February is double counting on the stats for burn up. Oh man, I love Bolton Raid Alert. Do you think there are enough non-attacks to justify the face purgatory? Well, I mean, that's the interesting aspect, right? I looked and it said that there was 15, but there's not. There is only 12. But I counter that with, what is the likelihood that you get this card combination plus something that actually is productive along with it, right? Because if you draw this combination and you have 1 or 2 instants in your hand, it kind of sucks, if I'm being 100% honest. Depending on the instant. Obviously, Somersault's going to be like fantastic. Oh, it's actually counting CLV as a non-attack. Okay. We'll message Philip and let him know, because the count is off. That much I know. And also, we're also giving up warmongers in this situation, right? Because that, I guess that's what this could be, right? Because this list does not have warmongers diplomacy, and so we're running this package in lieu of that. And it's actually very interesting, but I think that's the math behind it. I don't know which one's correct. Basically, you're saying that some matches, either they don't go tall enough to where you really get true face purgatory value, which is fair. But in those matchups where they're going really low, are you getting long enough to get Arc Lightning in Flicker Wisp combo? Like, I'm thinking in the mirror match, right? In the mirror match, face purgatory is like kind of mid, right? Unless they just happen to pump something. But even then, you like the armor for the breakpoints and stuff like that. So like that's even an advantage in and of itself. But like in the Aurora mirror match, are you ever having time to find this? Or maybe Yuki's just using it to push damage against Florian, which is extremely valid, and Enigma. Maybe that's the strat there. Which would make sense. So maybe this is just like hard fatigue tech to kind of just add damage, turn defensive value to offensive value. That actually makes the most sense. That's my final answer. I don't know what the answer is. I just think that that seems like an anti-fatigue tech of running those 2 card combinations into that. Final answer. I don't know that you bring it in the mirror. I don't think you do either. Like, because you're never gonna get time to set it up. That's the problem. Yeah, it has to be fatigue tech. Like, it just has to. Which means it's not a more mathematical. It's not a mathematical proposition on getting more value. It's shifting the value from whereas face purgatory is disruptive slash defensive. You're just flipping it all offensive, right? This is all offensive capability, which is going to kind of hurt you if they throw any disruption, but ultimately it should even out and it guarantee you a board clear. So it makes sense. It's just anti-fatigue tech, which I can agree with. Um, I do concur with that. So overall, Sigil, obviously with Yuki's list, and then also these two we talked about, and then Poison the Well, we already talked about that, and then the Spell Void package. I think that's pretty standard in the Aurora list. So we'll go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead. Not as nice as of a format, but let's see if there's anything unique. They have the same package in here. This is the list from Game Force in London. This is a pro quest. Okay. We have Grass, Lightning Greaves, Shock Charmers, has Snapdragon Scalers. I support it, assuming they have over 30 attack actions. That's the rule. I think you need 33 attack actions in the main deck to support Snapdragon Scalers. That's my rule. So we're going to count 1, then 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 36. Look at that. Look at that. Jimmy knows what's up. Jimmy knows what's up. 36 attacks. So we're supporting the Snapdragon Scalers. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. As far as any other tech that's different, Exude Confidence, I've been on that since day one. I like it. I'm not 100% sure if it's not that it's bad. It's the fact that just don't know if you need it. If I'm being 100% honest. And then we see the Sigil of Solace tech here as well. So nothing kind of jumping out at us. And as far as blues, we're just going to assume Warmongers is in the sideboard, right? So we're only going to count. This is a sideboard as well. So this is the standard 9 blues, opting for actually going with the offensive Sigil of Lightning, but replacing the blink with a Heaven's Claw. That's actually kind of a neat take there. So pretty standard. I 100% agree with the deck choice of over 30 attacks, 33 to 36 run scalers. 100% agree with that. All right, this is the calling list. Got 5th. Let's see if there's anything. This is a purgatory, so automatically more non-attack actions, which would not support probably Snapdragon Scalers, which we do not see. I agree. And we have Command and Conquer. We've seen that before. Pretty standard stuff. Sigil. We've seen those. Sing Below is like going a little bit more defensive. I respect it. Don't know if you need it. So one thing that Exude is mostly good for Enigma. Yeah, Enigma, Florian, anybody that really wants to block you is really. Can still play Ironweave and Crown in the mirror going second, hitting that extra card when you may win you the game. I mean, maybe, or you could just block breakpoints. Have I tried Coax? I have. I do not think it's worth it. That is my personal opinion. I think the opportunity cost of not being Lightning and not having access to natural go again, the card has to be absolute nuts. And the problem with Coax is, sure, you can draw a card all day, but you're giving your opponent another card to block with. Sideboard looks like Exude plus Poison the Well, Mongers, Flicker, and 5 equip. Yeah, of course. 100%. I thought about playing Aurora, but man, do I love Vis's playstyle right now. It just feels really strong. I do agree. I do agree. It's a lot of fun as well. So here's pretty standard. This is actually interesting inclusion in a neat blue, right? Typically, we reserve the blues for lightning to support the CLVs, the Channel Lightning Valley. Yeah, there it is. So typically, all the blues are lightning cards, but in this case, this is probably the best blue, right? You can get 3 value from it, so it's very good defensively. It's very good offensively. It's a very good blue. The problem is it does not support this card, which could be worth it, right? I mean, I'm not disagreeing or agreeing in the first place. But none of these, the most interesting thing about this list in particular is none of these seem like sideboard blues. So this person is on literally 13 blues, which is standard's been 9 for a while. Yuki was at 12. This one's taken a little bit further at 13. So we're noticing an upward trend in blues is the thing that I'm mainly trying to communicate. So let's go ahead and take it to the next one. We have Battle Hardened in Tokyo. Okay, we have the Aether Ironweave Dominion combination. We have Lightning Greaves. We have Scalers. So we better count 33 attacks. We better. I'm going to throw a fit. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to skip Fry because it's 6, or because it's a 1. 5. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 33. Fry makes 34. Not counting the current funnels, that's 37. Plus Blue Lightning Surge is 40. Holy cow. So yeah, they're definitely on board with the higher attack count Snapdragon Scalers. That's the rule. 33 attack actions, 36 plus. Throw in those Snapdragon Scalers. That's the rule. Is there any other tech that we really haven't seen? Yep, this is a Crown of Providence list, which tells me there's less non-attack actions, which is obvious because we just counted 40 fucking attacks. So, is there anything just jumping out? We see Fry for the first time. It's very consistent, but it's not the most amazing thing, right? It's kind of sus in its own ways. This is the first time we've seen Scar for a Scar, right? Scar for Scar is just a standard 0 for 4 with possible go again. The way that I look at Scar for a Scar was Jimmy was on 9 blues, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he was on 9 like main deck blues. And then he had 2 Warmongers and 2 Poison the Well. So 9. And then this one was high on 13. And then this one is on 9 as well. But like I was saying, Scar for Scar, the way that I look at this card specifically is it's really good in the aggro matches because you're trading life total, right? Like you're dipping down, then you're starting with that card. So it's just 4 go again. It's basically like a rabble that's always on. In the aggro matchups. However, against any deck that wants to block you a lot, this shit is a liability. It will brick your hands like it's nobody's business. I mean, think about it. Half the time you're attacking Enigma, right? So most of the time your life is actually going to be higher than theirs because their whole strategy is they dip low and then bring it back higher with CYB or board state, whichever one. So against anybody that wants to block, this card's terrible. Anybody that doesn't want to block, it's literally 4 go again, which is exactly what you want, right? Other than that, everything looks pretty standard. Nothing really exciting. And then the last list that we have is Sam's list from the Battle Hardened in Milwaukee. So here, for the first time, we see Balance of Justice. I think that's just paying respect to some brutes. I'm not sure what other, I guess, maybe Volcano if he's not running. No, he's running Tiara. So I guess just paying respect to Brute. Crown of Providence and not having Purgatory means that we're going to see less non-attack actions. Let's see what we have. We see Command and Conquer. No, uh, no scalars. So we're expecting a little less on the attacks. 2 of the somersault. That's kind of an exception there. Exude again. Fry making a comeback just to smooth things out. And sigils. This is the place that I saw it first. And everything else looks pretty standard. 9 blue package for the main deck, and then poison. So it seems like everybody is divided between 9 and 12, or in the ballpark of 12, is what it seems like. Maybe Scar is sideboard only. Well, the beautiful thing about this list in particular is you're running so many attack actions. What it probably does is in a slow match, Exude Confidence swaps with Scar. Is how I would handle this list. I don't know if that's what they're doing. It's just what I would do. In a slow match, I would put in Exude, take out Scar, and then in a really fast matchup, I would take out Exude, put in the Scar. That is how I would approach that deck list. I think it's interesting that the list is on the same amount of non-attack actions as Yuki's list, but is on Crown of Providence over Face Purgatory. It's all about how consistent. So the most interesting thing about Sam's list is he's actually built it in a very consistent manner, right? He's playing undervalued cards like Fry just for consistency reasons, basically. He's even going a step further and only playing 2 somersaults instead of 3, which is another, point toward consistency. But then you're running Crown of Providence, which is there to fix consistency. So the only thing that I see with this list in particularly is it's like really hedging for consistency. But then it's like doubling down on with the Crown of Providence to fix it. Whereas typically you see not necessarily, I don't want to use the expression of like greedy deck building and then Crown of Providence to bail you out, but it allows you to be at this like comfortable medium place and still have a bailout, right? Where you're not breaking all the time or having clunkiness or anything like that, but you just have that sitting there. Maybe as a get out of jail free or to ignore a CNC, whatever the case may be. So maybe that's just how Sam uses it, is just to dodge CNC. But from how he's built this list, he doesn't need it for a consistency aspect. I think it's just for CNC, probably, if I had to guess. So that pretty much covers all the list. So it seemed like half of the list were on 9 blues, half of the list are on 12, and then half of them have the Ironweave package, half of them don't, and then half of them are on Purgatory, half of them are on Crown. So those seem to, and I think everybody is slowly moving into Sigil of Solace. I think the later the list, the more it's in there kind of situation. Sigil of Solace. Sigil of Solace. No Sigil of Solace. Sigil of Solace. So most of them are heading toward the direction of Sigil. So that is something that we can confidently say. Can only get so consistent with all those instants? I mean, is there that many of them? Like, Sigil doesn't count because that could be played anytime, anywhere, right? Sigil can never brick. It's just not capable. But press can, sure. It's literally just press, discharge, somersault. And Valley. And I guess blink. So like 15? That, I don't know. I don't consider sigil a brick either because it just does so many things. So I don't know. It's very interesting. Very interesting. But so basically, what we can derive from looking at those lists. Don't worry. We're gonna try to play a game or two. I just gotta go over and log into my shit. And the one thing that I have basically figured out is the whole creepers electrify thing is not worth it. It's really good in the aggro matches, like really good. But the problem is that the meta is so dynamic that there's not that many decks that just don't want to block you, right? Like it's basically the mirror match, which they have a bunch of armor, so they're just getting blocked anyway half the time. And then also you have the Azalea matchup are like the only ways that you actually gain advantage with the creepers route. So I do concede the fact that I think creepers slash um creepers slash electrify is just not it's not the way. It just isn't. Simple as that. Uh what can we do? Let's actually find Sam's list in the public thing. If it's here. I don't know if it is or not. So I 100% agree with the fact that it should not be in there. We'll just use the calling list to play. But yeah. So creepers, not it. I'll admit it. Creepers is not it. Another thing that I'm not 100% sold on is the the number of blues. I'm very conflicted because I think that how do I say this? How do I say this? Let me make a copy of this. The reason that you run blues in Aurora is not because you want to run blues. Don't get it wrong. You run blues in Aurora because there are not better reds. Does that make sense? Like if you could fill the deck with with more lightning surges and entwined lightnings and shit like that, you would, right? Of course. Uh so these cards exist because you ran out of these cards. Simple as that. A blue does not if you're really good with the deck building, a blue doesn't really you can extract value from it, but it's usually never the value that you can from a red. Um, whether it's being pitched, no matter the only exception is the whole flicker wisp grasp line specifically. So let me just make this sideboard real quick. This is definitely the sideboard. This is probably the sideboard. And he probably has these in the sideboard. If I had to guess, it should get us close. Then there's one card. This is really weird. Really, really weird. So it's probably like this and then the one of. I'm not sure what the one of would be, but that's the only card that is one of. So we're gonna put it in the sideboard. Not sure if that's right. So we'll just use this list and we'll play some game. The main thing that I want to investigate is going up to 12 blues. What does that do? What does going up to 12 blues actually accomplish? Because I'm not 100%. You know what? Let's just use Yuki's list. It's all separated already. And she's also on 12 blues. So let's do that. Just use a Yuki's list. We are not going to play Living Legend. My God, that'd be horrible. Actually, Living Legend's a lot better now because Kraken's is gone. And it's funny because somebody actually said, so I guess this would be kind of anti-fatigue, right? Because the disruption that Verdance has, you can't really interact with the whole plow under and felling. So we're gonna go with the Crown Dominion package in this one. Although getting face purgatory value can be kind of easy in this one. And because I would love to run the spell void, but we need grasp for this combination. So we're gonna run that. We definitely need a poison well, and we need these cards. So what can we take out to further support what we're actively trying to do? And I think we don't need the blocking disruption, so we can take some blues out and not really hurt anything. We don't need the D reacts because that's not active to our game plan really. And then we can just take out one sigil. Go like that. Although these kind of mess up with the range and they're really good on not clunking up the hand. So we'll cut down the blues and then go up on those. We'll go like that. See what happens. Yep, we'll sideboard it like that. Let me get chat back up. I lost you. I lost you, chat. Okay. I'm sold on 9 blues plus 3 mongers in the side. I mean, it felt good when I started that. Okay, so we have the standard Aether Tide and Plume, so we're maybe getting comboed. We can go ahead and close these out. Kind of bothering me. Is it me? Not sure what's happening. But yeah, I mean, 9 blues have. I've actually been experimenting with less. Not going up, but I mean, everybody else seems to be on 12. So I never like to approach things assuming that my way is the correct way. So I'm going to try it out. I'm going to try it out, see if it feels better, if it feels worse. I'm going to give this person exactly 60 more seconds before I dip because I'm not going to waste y'all's time. Not sure what's going on. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, gone. Thank you. Okay, Victor. That's an interesting one. We would choose to go. Hmm. Probably. No, we'll just go second. Start with the tempo. Now, this is actually interesting because I'm not 100% sure on whether this would be a traditional Purgatory or a Crown Dominion match. I think the armor is really, really valuable. So I'm kind of leaning toward Tunic, Purgatory, Grasp, and Greaves. Because it could be a longer game, get value from Tunic, and yeah, it's a lot harder to set up with Tunic Pummel and stuff like that for the combo. So we're gonna go with that. This is probably pretty good. And we need 2-card hand options. We probably go ahead and throw in the combo. Do we though? It seems like it could be a liability. I'm actually curious if I can just get there. I'm actually really curious. The no blocks can be a little bit of a liability, so we'll cut down the blinks, go up on the sigils. And then just add the CNCs for threat density. No, that just kind of plays into it. I'm curious if we get into fatigue problems with 60 cards. Let's find out. Let's find out, chat. Play a roundup home. Is Sizzle really more value than Lightning Press? Honest Aurora question. It. I mean, I don't think it is. Personally. Just an arsenal. We're just gonna go 7. Play this on the top. Arsenal this. Could be a liability, but we need to wait for a bigger turn to extract more value. Because he is coming in with AB1. I don't know if that means anything particularly, but if he like staunches here, then it's like, oh brother, you know. Base sync, that's not necessarily a tail of any type. Okay, so we're not fatiguing. He's playing a normal game plan, which means we were correct in running 60 cards. Wowza. Okay, the problem is he does have 1 floating. That is a problem of sorts. And the real problem is we don't know. We might actually just have to play this and then play the snatch and see what happens. We might actually have to do that. Which I don't hate. He's kind of low on armor, so. But no matter if he pays into the arcane, we still dodge the go again effect by playing both. And if not, we get an extra value in ping 1 and so forth with the second one. So this is a pretty good spot. If he had tunic counter, this is much worse. But we will take this, right? We just leak 1 damage, not a big deal. We're just going to go ahead and rip it. Get the arcane damage on it. I wish we had tunic counter at 3. It would be beautiful. But this is going to have go again. Yeah, Sizzle does work with the weapon. That's the whole reason that you play it. 100%. And Sizzle blocks. But the surprise aspect to, getting 2 reds, which means the hand's not great. However, chat, this is important. Tunic counter on 3. Willingly gave 2 cards, which means I kind of actively want to play around CNC Pummel here. So what I'm actually going to do. So we have 2 options. If he does have CNC Pummel, if we play this Lightning Surge out, he's going to block with the CNC Swing Hammer. That's his highest EV play, right? However, if we swing Starfall and then it pings from the go again, we lose 1 value. I guess it's the same either way, I guess. But it keeps a card in deck is the difference. And what if he doesn't want to block? So we have to throw the Lightning Surge. unfortunately. But we're just gonna go ahead and rip it. Look, chat. It's like we've played this game before. We read his mind. So he had to block with the CNC because we came off the arsenal on purpose. And he's gonna swing hammer, which is exactly the plays we need to be making, chat. Which means, off of what he was trying to do, I really think this is a pummel. And so we're just gonna play to that. We're gonna play like we know that. Okay, we don't have anything super exciting here. Unfortunately, this time we are gonna have to kind of play around it because we don't have a hand that truly supports anything else. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play Sizzle out. We're gonna swing Starfall. We're gonna float the 2. And then we'll throw the Static Shock. And then make an embodiment. Okay, we do have the Trounce here. So good thing we didn't play this because there was no shot this was hitting if that was the case. Absolutely 0 chance. And maybe we might have a really good opportunity for a face purgatory on the following. We leak an extra damage by dealing the arcane, which is good. But they're going to prevent it, which means they don't need the tunic counter. It's important. And then we'll just make the embodiment arsenal the burn up for the clap back. Although this is probably like a choke slam, just a 4-card 8 could be debilitate or something like that. It is more than likely what this is, which is okay. But now we're set up. We got a burn up, and we got an embodiment. We're kind of in a good position. Okay. And we have a good old somersault, gone on a flash, and all those shenanigans. So Purgatory is not an option. We do not have the non-attack, which is okay. Just trying to come up with my line. So it looks like the line is play Burn Up Shock. Then we have the ability to Gone in a Flash. Then we get to somersault the Gone in a Flash. Play a Current Funnel. Play a Shockwave Fuse with the Gone in a Flash, Tunic Counter Starfall, Gone in a Flash. That is our line. So we're going to take 11 all day. I think that's pretty wide. All right. But on Tower Shard, we have to decline the Gone in a Flash trigger, and we want to execute the Somersault trigger, is the key aspect of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this. Choose if you want to return. So this would be no, because this is the Gone in the Flash trigger. So the answer is no. Then this resolves, and we target Gone in a Flash. All right, so now the last lightning action we have played is lightning. So that means we can play Current Funnel with Go Again, also giving the next attack action card we play this turn, Go Again. So what we're going to do is we will then Tunic Counter into Starfall, Shockwave Fuse, Gone in a Flash. Is our Play Arsenal. Play Shockwave fuse with Somersault. Play Somersault. Pitch blue. I think you're right, Brix. I think I missed out on 1 damage by playing the Garner Flash twice instead of the Shockwave. No, it's the same because if we play the Shockwave at the end, we can't use it, right? No, we could have. Yeah. I missed out on 1 damage. You're 100% right. So we got the burn up trigger. That's kind of what we were looking for. Nice little 4 arcane. And then now it doesn't really matter because we accomplished what we set out to accomplish. So if I lose with him at 1, it's my fault. Simple as that. But we are ahead on armor, which is good. They still have a gold, which is not good. I'll move that up. And we are empty. We are on E. We're up 10 life. They have a 2-card hand. No shot they're ending their turn. Yep. You can undo that all you want. I know you didn't mean to. Oh, you're right. Nicholas bailed me out. Let's go. You don't play current funnel in that line. Oh yeah, then I like my line then. If that's the case. Because I definitely don't want to hold on to it. It just becomes a liability. It's not a really good arsenal card, or I don't want to save the tunic counter. I want to get rid of it as quickly as possible. You can play all those you want, bro. Just keep playing them. Wait, you want to pummel this? What is this hand? Brother. What just happened? Is this how it ends? Is this how it ends, chat? I mean, we just send 4? That's so sus. I mean, I guess we get to keep the armor. I mean, this is gonna be like a hell of a purgatory right here. Hell of a purgatory. We just eat that one. I know it's 1 less damage, but I'm actually valuing the go again in case he doesn't draw like a really good hand. We want to go wide and close the game is ideally what we want to do. That's unfortunate for you. Okay, you got an extra blue. There's no way you needed another blue. Unless that blue helps you avoid face purgatory, and then that sucks for me. But let's go ahead and pass. And then Arsenal. And now we don't have an attack for purgatory. Okay, so they're not making this easy. They're not making this easy at all for me. But we're gonna try. This is becoming worrisome quickly. Please don't have an on hit. Oh, that's it? What? -1 counter on equipment that they control. So we need to go and block with grasp. So that way they only get 1 value from the -1 counter. Sure. You got me. Yep. Saw that one coming. I think in this situation, we actually Block with the arc lightning or discard the arc lightning. I would have loved a purgatory there, but you know, what can you do? Very smart to put on the grass, by the way. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're just going to swing Starfall. Give it go again, +1. Oh, we won. Look at that. We win again. Oh, we won another one. Oh, let's go. So he didn't get the card. That's good. That's really good. We finally got a break. We finally got one. Um and so here I'm going to elect not to fuse on purpose because we obviously don't want to give away the information, and we have a very good use for it. And it's not the end of the world if he actually has a D-react, which he probably does, if we're being honest. Um, so we will go ahead and throw it. Another thing that we could have done is made a rune chant instead of an embodiment, which was not the move because he had tunic counter specifically. Oasis? What? Well played. You earned it. Okay, so denied value there. We're going to make an embodiment for the following turn and pass. Now the rune chant play looks really good because because I didn't know he had a damn Oasis. So we'll put that to the bottom. Okay. Okay, so the number one thing is we will have tunic counter is the main thing. And this is 12. I think we have to purgatory here. I really don't want to, but I think we have to. Because like there's no other opportunity that we're gonna get more value. So that means we have to block with that. No option. And we need to block here. So to not get this crush effect, we have to go like that. It leaks 3, no crush. This is still valid. We draw a card. He doesn't discard. That's fine, but we still draw. And we keep tunic for the starfall trigger, which is what we want to do. And we need an attack that plays well with press, ideally. That's what we want to draw, but we'll see. That's actually really good. That is actually see chat. Can't you risk because he'll have to pay 1 so you don't draw from lightning any no, he would have just taken tunic counter. I didn't know he had Oasis. I can't make the decision knowing that he has it. Sigil pretty good here. I'm not gonna lie. Sigil kind of good. Sigil kind of good. I gotta turn it on hold priority, assuming it gives me the window. Resolution step. We do that. We bounce. And then we've played a lightning card, so we tunic counter into Starfall. And actually, because he blocked with shield, we should have broke chain for this reason. Because this it's just we should have broke chain because he can technically break the gold that's on the combat chain, right? Isn't that a thing? If it only matters if he loses the clash. He won and he won, so it didn't matter. But min max, you gotta. Okay, on this trigger, we play the press and we don't bounce because we're going to draw a card anyway off the CLV. So we get our cards worth of value. And this should leak 2 because it bypasses the gauntlet because the gauntlet didn't trigger. And then we'll just put this in Arsenal, and if he tries to CNC us, we could just play it out of Arsenal, which is perfectly fine. It also turns all of our stuff on in our deck. So we will just end turn. I don't think we're ever getting another tunic counter. I guess it's the difference of 1 life. So if we block here, we take 8, go to 5. I guess there's no reason to give the tunic up, so we won't. No like risk on this turn, not blocking with your hand. Yep. I would love to block more, but it had overpower on it, which is puts a little damper on things. Okay, so we're gonna play it in reactions to give it go again. This will also trigger the draw, which is pretty good if he doesn't have a D react here. So we get the draw, which is good. The problem is we drew something that we would have loved to play to give that go again. But what can you do? So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and activate Aurora to give this snatch. We're going to throw the snatch first because if he lets that hit, then we could draw an instance or something else that has go again so we can actually get value. Oasis versus my E-Strike. Hoo-hoo. My E-Strike versus your Sync Blow. Get fucked. I do like E-Strike. So that actually changes things. So what we can do now is We can. So the plan was, this is what the plan was. We were going to um, throw the flittering charge and then arsenal the electrify. Now what we're gonna do is, that's a shitty arsenal. So we're gonna use the gold to get the E strike that we saw, and now we're gonna think. Um, we're gonna think on what we actively want to do here. We could throw 7 if we don't want to worry about blocks, or and we don't have to worry about clashing. So maybe that is actually the correct line, is just throwing 7 here instead of and not leaving ourselves vulnerable. Which I actually kind of like, especially with Tunic counter coming up on 3. Of course, if he has CNC pummel, he probably just wins the game anyway. So yeah, I think I'm just going to throw. I mean, what's the advantage of keeping the E strike? I mean, it's a card that I get to push. Yeah, if he has CNC pummel, he wins anyway, right? Because I can't afford to block and I lose my hand, he gets full tempo and he just takes the game. So I guess there's no reason to play around it. We still have 1 block. So we're actually gonna throw the flittering and arsenal the E strike, and then if he has CNC pummel, he just wins the game. Okay, he doesn't have it. That's a good sign. I guess he could also have Golden Sun, but that doesn't change the equation. We have 1 more Sigil of Suffering. That'd be kind of good. If he plays a 3rd Golden Sun on me, I'm gonna lose it. Okay. So we have CLV, so we want to like pressure as much as possible. If he has lunging press, he's just better. It's that simple. Here we can go electrostatic sizzle. There's no go again here, unfortunately. We don't have a way to give this go again. If we had the tunic counter, we would go Gone in a Flash, pop the boots, play this, bounce it back, do all that, but we don't have that. But actually, is that the play either way? I mean, it doesn't fucking matter. We're not blocking this. So is that the actual play though? Is we pitch one of these? So what we can do is we can pitch the Lightning Surge to pop boots. Instant cards can go again. Play Gone in a Flash. Electrostatic Discharge. Okay. Then we would have a Sizzle and a Gone in a Flash back in our hand. And then we could go E strike, go again. It's kind of the same thing no matter how you cut it. But it gets a lightning card in the pitch zone. That's the important part. So if we draw another lightning card, we keep the value. I guess that's the important aspect. So the question is, do we keep the sizzle or... I think we just go ahead and rip the sizzle. We play sizzle. Gone in a Flash. Bounce it. Then we can E-strike. We can't E-strike unless we draw. Because this will be in the pitch zone. This will be played. This is used to bounce. Oh, so we get this back so we can E-strike for 7. That is the play. So we go sizzle. And that's an instant. And then we go Gone in a Flash for 7. That's the plan. We got there. Okay. So we need to do this so it holds in resolution. Sure. Okay. So now we activate Greaves, pitching this. Let Greaves resolve. Then we play Discharge. We do want to bounce. Okay, that gives us that. And we have an electrostatic discharge. So now what we have the ability to do is E-strike for 7 or 10, actually. The question is draw a card better? Is it worse? I think it's worse because we're trying to get the draw card here. So we're just going to do buff power and come in for 10. You should have done the bounce in response to sync. Doesn't let him filter. Oh, that's a good point because it was getting blocked out anyway, so it didn't actually matter if the attack resolved. You're right. You 100% right. That's a fact. That's a fact. So this is coming in hot for 10. Should be. We can turn this back off because we don't need priority windows. We do not need priority windows. Coming in for 10. This technically doesn't force any cards out of his hand. He could not block at all. He just block armor. And if he has a D-react in Arsenal, I'm going to cry. He does not. Which means we get to draw. If it's a blue, we can... Where are we going to keep this? Obviously. So yeah. Overall, pretty good turn. We bought full tempo. I don't think he's going to be able to play that card offensively. So yeah, we're just going to pass. There's nothing else we can do. We don't have an action point. We could play this to get an action point, but we can't do anything with it. So we're just going to pass. And this should unclunk our hand. We can like make an embodiment on the fly if we really need to. We have that ability. Okay. So this is actually a really good hand. Like really good. So we're just gonna go ahead and like just send it is what we're gonna do. We want this to look as innocent as possible, but as threatening as possible. So what we're gonna do is this is the next action card you play against Go Again. So we're gonna play Arc Lightning. Okay. And then I guess to just force the... We actually have to play it now because it's the first time you deal damage. So if he takes this Arcane, it would invalidate this CLV. But the good thing is we're going to produce a lot of Arcane this turn, at least 3 more. So the Tunic counter renders it invalid. He should have probably just pitched a blue anyway and kind of hung on. Unless he doesn't have another blue, then of course, you know, do what you do. But this means Starfall's on, so we can just go ahead and rip that. Which will both force a... Doesn't necessarily force a card on block, but he'd have to give us armor. And then when this Go Again resolves, it does force a card because he doesn't have any more resources. Which would give me a card, which we love cards. So that might work out for us. Okay. And he said no. So now what we're going to do is rip the Surge that will have go again. And so now he's heavily in. We know this is not a D reactor, or he would have prevented the draw last time. So he's going to block 2 pieces plus his armor, which is fine. And then what we're going to do is play the Snatch now after, which draws us 2 cards because it's going to hit. And then we're going to be able to put the best card in Arsenal and then probably make an embodiment if we rip a yellow or a blue. Is the good thing about this play specifically. So we already know this is not a D react, so we get double card draw. It's 1-1. Current funnel is a blue, so we have embodiment secure. So we just want a juicy red, is what we want. Juicy red card. That is a juicy red card. So what we're going to do is make the embodiment, which is also going to allow us to keep the CLV around. And then we're just going to pass because the Snatch did not have go again. We couldn't have bounced it back. I guess we could have, but I think this is actually better in Arsenal to allow us to make another embodiment no matter what we draw on the next turn. This is a hand of cards. Okay. So playing Okay, I think we actually want to use the sigil offensively is actually what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the burn up shock. Trigger both modes. And we're just doing this for the arcane. Obviously, if it hit, I mean, I guess he could like sigil or something, and it's like sigil protection. But really, we're just getting a card out of his hand. Card for card is all we're trying to accomplish here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to Flittering Charge, which will have go again from the embodiment. Then we're going to somersault it back to our hand. Then we're going to play the Flittering Charge again, press it, and then have the flexibility of playing the Sigil or swinging Starfall because it'll once again have go again. And then just make the decision based off of what we draw. And we know the Arsenal is not a D reactor. He would have stopped the Snatch and a bunch of other shenanigans. So this should just win the game. I don't see how it doesn't. And then we just press to 7, which should get it. Yep. And we would have drawn another flittering. So we could have went 2 into 4, or we could have gained 3, sent 4. There's a lot of different options that we had in that one. But that was a tie one. That was Oh, shock for lethal. He was empty-handed, bro. I didn't even I actually did that during draft. But yeah, you're 100% correct. That was a bit of a throw because he was empty-handed. I was just like waiting for the next turn. You're 100% right. Could have killed with shock. You're 100% correct. 100% correct. Okay. All right. So after that game, the one thing that I noticed is we played specifically on 9 blues in that rotation. And GG's, GG's boss. We played on 9 blues, and I don't know, it just feels good. Like, I don't know why you need 12. I really don't, I really don't know. We did not get max value from our purgatory, although it was a good play when it happened. We drew something that was allowed us to actually play our turn. We played around the CNC at the very beginning, 100% correct. We came off the arsenal at the right time. We won one clash on a trounce that like actively mattered. But 9 blues feels fine. Sigil of Solace, if it's not in your list yet, just just add them in there. Just throw them in there. Card feels really good. It's like you're never upset when you see it. You just never are. Like either like that one brick hand that I had where I literally just blocked 4 and sent 4. Like imagine if there was a sigil in there. It makes the hand infinitely better. Infinitely better. It can get flittering charge go again. It can bounce gone in a flash. It just does. It's such a. It's literally another E strike. It's like that flexible of a card specifically in this deck. Um, so 9 blues is the takeaway. Feels fine. I don't know about adding anymore, but Sigil just feels really, really good. Um, my favorite thing actually about Yuki's list, which is kind of a lot of people probably wouldn't might have went under the radar a little bit, but I love the fact that she's not playing second strike. I have never been a fan of that card specifically because I do not. I mean, just imagine a lot of those victor turns where like it conflicts with CLV, right? Like you have your CLV on the board, you're trying, and they're just like blocking all the breakpoints, and you just can't turn it on. You're like banging your head against the wall. It really second strike in constructed and limited is really good, but in constructed, it seems counterintuitive to what the deck wants to be doing. You really don't want to give your opponent that kind of agency over your go again. So I really like that aspect of Yuki's list. The D reacts, I think everybody's been on that. That's nothing new. But yeah, other than that, 3 somersaults feels fine. I don't think there's a reason to be scared in run 2. I think you can just run 3 and you know, go for it. But yeah, overall, I wish it was a matchup like the Verdants that we matched into first, so we could have actually done the Flicker Wisp combo. But I mean, at the same time, we worked out the math in a way to where it just makes sense, right? Like it just um it makes sense why it's there. It's the same value, just flips the value from disruptive disruptive defensive to all the value on offense, which there's some matchups where you actually need that. Oh, what think of Azalea? Post Dio Armory for ProQuest. My meta has had half or almost half the top 8 being Enigma for both PQs. So if that's the case, Mo, if the Enigmas are CYB, I think it's unfavored for Azalea. I really do. Like, really unfavored. I think you have a shot if they don't have the CYBs. Yeah, chat's correct. She's on 3 extra blues instead of second strike, basically. And actually, I don't think she's on Rabble. That's what's actually taking up that spot. She's not on Ravenous Rabble, which is interesting, but once again, she went up on blues, so it kind of makes sense, right? Um, but yeah, Mo, Azalea, if you know the Enigmas are Count Your Blessing, then I think it's a horrible pick. Um, and Yeah, I think it's literally as simple as that. If they're not on CYB, I think it's a fine pick. Just make sure you bring your red and yellow Merkmires, and you should be fine. None of them are CYB. They mostly on no aura, block 3 attack, D react, standard. Yeah. Um, yeah, if they're not on CYB, I think it's a fine pick. But just make sure you have the red and yellow copies of Merkmire grapple. So you can blow up the ward for free. Because if you just run the 3, you'll run out of the targets, right? You might not need all 3 copies of the yellow, but at least 2. Like 5 Merkmires are probably fine. She is also on Static Shock, which not everyone. I don't know why anybody is not running Static Shock. That card is. I think that's in everybody's list. If it's not, it very well should be. It's literally copies 4 through 6 of Arcanic Shockwave. Not quite as good because the arcane damage isn't quite guaranteed, but it's close. It's close. So Murkmire is the one, the Azalea arrow. It's a 0 for 4 in red, and it says damage cannot be prevented from this arrow. And so basically, you just pump that bitch up, and throw dominate on it by hitting it off the top or whatever the case may be, or maybe after you've already gotten blocks with codex and stuff like that, and then you just get to clear all the ward because all the ward will trigger and leave them with an empty board, which is what all you're trying to do with Azalea. Jimmy didn't have static. I'll tell you why Jimmy didn't have static. I'm not gonna lie. LSS, I don't know if you're gonna see this. Definitely not late in the stream, but I'm gonna be 100% real with you. It's kind of cringe that I have to buy 2 first strike decks to get a play set. I'm gonna keep it 100. It's kind of cringe, and the most annoying aspect of it is I can't even give what's left of the deck to like another friendly player that like wants to try it out, or like give it to them as like an entry product, because all Sizzle, Static Shock, all the exclusive cards are so essential to the deck building that I would be giving them in like it's been tuned. I can see how it's been tuned in a very precise manner. I I like can't just take the extra copy out, which is cringe enough already, and then just hand it to somebody else. And like as like a gift or whatever, or I see a new player, and yeah, it's just not it. It's not it. And what I hope is when you see that the first strike decks did really well, I want you to be able to look at the numbers and the results from the sales of the first strike decks and say, yes, we know for 100% fact that this is a great product for entry level players. But the unfortunate aspect of it is, LSS, you're not going to be able to know that because so much of the sales throughput is going to be predicated on people buying 2 of them to get a fucking playset. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You're not going to know if it's a good product or how well the community receives it, because the data that you get is going. You're not going to know where it's derived from, and well, I mean that's the thing, Jeff. Right? It's like they said they learned from the glistening steel blade, right? And we know they've learned from it because the armory decks have 3 copies, and I get it. It's not like a straightforward solution. It's not like you can't just put 3 copies in it, because the deck is designed to take it out of the box, not sleeve it, shuffle that bitch and play, right? Like that is how it's designed. But hear me out, LSS. Like, I'll put an extra copy of every exclusive card in a little plastic packet, and on the outside of the packet say, "Do not include in deck." And just in some way, it could be via plastic, it could be whatever, isolate it in the packaging from the playable cards. And everybody buys the product and fuck it. Charge $1 more to do it, or $2, or whatever the case may be, right? And that way, people buy one because they like it, and they don't have to buy 2 copies and then just waste the product, right? Because me as a competitive player, right? I I would I don't even know what I don't even remember what I paid, or Josh actually gave me the first one. Um and I don't actually know, like, I'm just assuming maybe it's like $10 or $15. And if you I would have had to pay 30 or $20 to get 2 of them. I'd rather it just cost $13 or 14 or 15 and just have to buy one and be done with it. But buying 2 first strike decks to get exclusive cards, and I know I know what some people are going to say. Some people are going to say, "Oh, just buy the extra sizzle and static shock on TCG Player." And that's a great idea if there were any. If there were any, I would love to do that. I would absolutely love it. And they can derive how bad the first strike went comparing Terra and Aurora sales. They should be about the same and won't be. Um, that's well, so they would be able, yes and no, because be you could draw the you could draw a line of conclusion to, okay, you sold this many Terra decks and then this many Aurora decks, right? And the gap theoretically would be your competitive basis, right? Nobody There are some competitive cards in the Terra deck, don't get me wrong, like Canopy Shelter, I think is the Earth blue block card. That is like it is actively being ran in Florian decks because you make 2 might tokens if your hero ability is turned on. Like, it is a viable card. Is it as competitive as Sizzle and Static Shock? Hell no. Of course not. So, you would take the Terra decks and the Aurora decks, and the delta would be your competitive basis in sales. But that's not necessarily true because you don't know how, at least I don't know how much of the player base prefer aggro decks versus slow grindy decks and all of that. I guess if you have that information, you could then determine. There are some people who are selling a play set of Sizzle for 21 USD. Exactly. That exactly. That like literally the entire first strike deck is the price of Sizzle and Static Shock. And it's not like a good thing. All it's doing is removing an extra piece of product off the shelf for no reason, for absolutely no reason. So LSS, if you saw that, I don't know, maybe somebody clip it, send it to them. I don't know, but like, I just wanted to give like honest feedback that it's not the way. I'm not saying there's an easy solution, but I am saying that there's a better one. Because it's just not. I'm all for having exclusive cards in Blitz products, like all for it, but there just has to be, when so much of your player base is focused around CC. Now, I'm not saying Blitz is an unpopular format, but the fact that there's 2 copies, the only person who buys one product is completely satisfied, is literally somebody who's never played the game before, or they only play Blitz. And the demographic of Flesh and Blood players that only play Blitz has to be super low. There's a lot of players that play Blitz, but exclusively Blitz? I don't know. I don't know. So sorry to get on a tangent there, but yeah. I'm sitting here with with my lonely 2 static shocks and a third one nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found for no fucking reason. Literally. All you got to do, I swear I'm going to stop talking about this. Boom. You get like a neater piece of plastic, right? Like and these are cheap cards, right? They're like common equivalents, especially when you print 3 of them in your box. So they're not going to be worth shit. So nobody gives a shit if they're rough around the edges. Nobody gives a fuck. So you literally just package it like that. You throw it into, look at that. I got a starter pack right here. And you just label it right across the back here. It says, do not include in deck. And you slide that bitch in there. Boom. And you close that bitch up. Dragon Shield, not deck. Buy an Aurora Sleeves deck for your 3rd sizzle. Oh, man. Yeah. But that one's foil, isn't it? Like, I don't know. It's okay. LSS is really good at taking feedback and correcting. So I'm just going to assume that that's what they're going to do. But they will find a way to make it even better than it already is. So please, I don't want to buy 2 of these. All it's doing is taking this product off the shelf for a new player. If you're trying to reward stores by giving them products that move faster or they have higher margins, just charge more for it. Charge $15. I'd rather pay $15 once than 12 twice. Simple as that. Easy. And with that, we've been going. Oh, there was one question in chat. I'm so sorry. I hope you're still here. I just remembered that it was in chat a while up. Somebody asked about, have we looked at LL Briar yet? And the answer is yes. It's really good. Blossoming, Spellblade, that kind of stuff. Pretty good. Pretty good. They could write, when you're ready to try Classic Constructed, start your upgrade here. That's a great way. Like, instead, it should say on the little package, it should say, do not include in deck until playing Classic Constructed or something like that. And then that's like free advertisement toward the premier format, right? Because there's going to be a lot of people that open that box and they don't have a fucking clue what CC is, right? There's nothing in here that, I'm guessing they have like a QR code kind of thing, right? Is that how they? I literally opened this shit up, took the sizzles out and the stack shock out and just threw it down. Is there like a QR code? No, there's nothing. There is, right? Oh, there is. Okay, yeah, yeah. There's a QR code. So, I mean, Jesus, how am I going to get my 3rd copy of Cloud? I'm just kidding. They can keep that one at 2. Oh man. I want a blossoming Spellblade list from Briar. We might can do that. We might can do that. I take that back. I guess we need to do that because we have calling coming up, right? What is it, November? If I'm not mistaken, sometime in November. Oh, also, one more thing. If there's anybody from Mexico in chat, congratulations on finally acquiring distribution of Flesh and Blood product in your country. I'm really happy that that community finally got access to the product. Simple as that. I know that Brazil has been doing amazing. Just the community there has been exploding. They're really passionate about the game, and so shout out to Brazil as well. And looking forward to see what amazing players can come out of Mexico. Looking forward to it. Cloud cover has sweet art, though. That is true. I 100% agree. But you don't need a third copy for the art. You just need one. That's the funny part about that, you know. But yeah, I'm kind of tired, so I think I'm gonna call it there. But I if there's anybody that has any questions about anything, I'll stay on for another 5-10 minutes, answer any questions. So if you have any questions about anything, throw it in chat now. I would love to answer them. I'm gonna give you a couple minutes and then just go from there. Can we expect a streamer video for LL Briar? Yeah, of course. We got to. We got to. Especially before the LL calling. We have to. Yes, come to Brazil. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I just have to take Twitter off my phone, right? Is that still a thing? Is that still a thing? Mo said, "How tall are you?" 5'9". 5'9". Gotta quit. I mean, I did say ask anything. That's fair. How do you play as Enigma versus Aurora? I think you have to play the player. I think you need, if they're being really greedy and just unloading everything, just block them out. They'll fatigue themselves if they're not actively damage stacking. But if they're damage stacking, you gotta make, I don't know, you gotta just outplay them. Simple as that. Twitter got unbanned yesterday? No way. Brazil just got Twitter back. Let's go. Not that it does anything positive for society, but let's go. My question would be, if you could look back at Jimmy's list, what would be your changes to include the first strike cards, Sizzle, and Static Shock? Let me go re-pull up his list, and I will answer that question. Deck list. Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy. Okay, what would we add? I would take out Second Strike, put in Static Shock first. Then is he on Purgatory? If he's not in Purgatory, I don't even know if he needs Sizzle. If I'm being like, if I'm gonna keep it 100. You could take out Exude, put in Sizzle, and that would give you enough non-attacks to where you could actually entertain the idea of running Purgatory if you wanted to. If you wanted to. But for me, mainly I'm taking out Second Strike and maybe Exude and putting in Sizzle and Static Shock. Hopefully that answers your question. Keep working down these questions. Is Blue Lightning Press worse compared to Electric? Yeah. Don't run Blue Press, please. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. How does your Briar list deal with Prism in LL? See, that's actually the interesting part of it. I don't know if it does. I don't know if it does. That's something that I got to work out as well. You're not alone there. Why does Viscera play Crown Dominion? New player trying to understand. So the point of Crown of Dominion in Viscerai is it used to combine with Cash-In. That is my knowledge of Viscerai. However, Viscerai is one of those heroes where he always scales really good with an additional card because anytime you draw an additional card with Go Again, it's worth the value on the card plus the rune chain you make on the hero ability. So drawing cards of Viscerai historically is very good. And so you pop that gold and you have the one floating for the Reaping Blade. Pretty valuable. Twitter will be coming back until next week. Elon finally sent a representative here, so it's fine now. We'll see how long that lasts. Do you think there should be a reprint pack for new players? Also help calm these high staple prices. You know, it's so interesting the dichotomy between like, you know, people that want high prices and low prices. And I, I'm I, I'm gonna keep it 100. Like, I want people to enjoy this game. It is a hobby, right? So we have to draw the line there. Like, we're not printing these bitches off the printer and like, yeah, play whatever you want. You know, um, we can't do that. But at the same time, I don't want the price of a CNC to discourage new players. I like I have a bunch of them. Obviously, I have a bias to want to keep the price high because I've already bought them, but I think it's overall better for the game if the cards are cheaper. Certain cards need to hold value, and it's a very important aspect, right? But I've given the example of before in the stream, but like if you were to name any other form of like hobby slash entertainment, right? That you put money into, I I think that card game players expect too much. And I think it just revolves around just the whole MTG finance kind of side of things and like that whole culture derived from that. But this is a hobby and you're paying to be entertained. And the fact that you get a little bit of that back whenever you sell, like that's cool. But like if you go to the movies or something, like that shit's just down the drain, 100% of it, right? But you were entertained, right? So there's very few forms of entertainment that actually hold that value. And that's kind of the way that I like to justify things should be cheap, right? But certain things should be expensive. There should be chase cards, there should be exciting stuff. The collectors should be taken care of, right? I would like to see a widening, right? Like the really expensive stuff, I want to be really expensive. But just the lowest rarity of everything, I think should be super cheap. Me personally. When will Riptide be viable? I just don't think he does enough right now. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's bad at all. I just think that he's not doing quite enough. It's not the best aggro deck. There's too much weird fatigue shit that you have to guess right about. CYB completely destroys the whole fat deck, remembrance, abyssal quiver, fatigue them via aggression. Completely ruins that strategy. Sizzle is a nice lightning starter. I agree. They really should bring those Japanese 6-card boosters to the States. I would love to point new players. I mean, I don't see why not. Like, there's no barrier, right? Like, if you release a product in Japan, you're technically releasing it everywhere because it can just be shipped, right? Is it a little bit more expensive? Sure, but just go ahead and make it everywhere. I agree. I agree. But we got to figure out those first strike decks first. We got to figure out those first. All right. I really do appreciate everybody joining me. I think we got up to like 150 today. It's really good stuff on just like a casual shooting from the hip stream. I really do appreciate it. I wish I could. I've just been tired lately. I haven't been able to. Usually I go like 3.5 hours, but I've been doing the 2 hour streams lately. I'm gonna try to kick back up on it, but yeah, been a little tired. So I really do appreciate everybody being or joining me, and I wish you the best of luck in your pro quest this week, whether it be draft or CC. Um, I like drafting this set. I've been enjoying it. So I'm just kind of leaning into that. I have one more draft PQ this weekend and then one CC next weekend. And then I was going to play one the fourth weekend, but I'm doing something else now. So I'll be doing exactly three this season. So we'll see how it ends up. But best luck to everybody.